Okay, I think we are recording. Welcome back to another Zombie Ice video. Although it's actually not a Zombie Ice video, it's a reference to it very briefly. I mean, honestly, I think that ship has sailed. It's been resolved. The displacement of water doesn't change when ice melts in it. This is a thing. We don't have to go any further. But there are still people that are strongly suggesting sea level rise. So let's see what one of these people are saying.
Rising seas threaten lives and jeopardize access to water, food, and health care. The danger is especially acute for nearly 900 million people who live in coastal zones at low elevations, and that's 1 out of 10 people on Earth.
I mean, we don't have measurable alarming rates. The beaches are all open. This didn't look any different 10 years ago.
Mega
just saying
cities
stuff.
on every continent will face serious impacts, including Cairo, Lagos, Maputo, Bangkok, Dhaka, Jakarta, Mumbai, Shanghai, Copenhagen, London, Los Angeles, New York, Buenos Aires, and Santiago.
They just get to pilfer lies. I don't know if this guy comes back and says anything else. I actually kind of forget. They show a functioning beach here. It probably looked like this way 20 years ago. I mean, come on, man. This is... Countries step up their efforts to reduce emissions.
We will witness a mass exodus of entire populations on a biblical scale. And we would see ever fiercer competition for fresh water, land, and other resources.
You know, desalination is a real technology, so by virtue of what they're actually portraying here as a problem, seems like we could fix that. You have more sea level water, and then you can desalinate it. You'll have salt to preserve things and use, and you'll have water for people that don't have water. So, I mean, if this was a real thing, that would be the way to go at it, right? Because warm weather is pretty good for growing crops. Let's see. There's another... I pulled up this article. Just as like a reference. It's always very alarming. It's always death is looming. This guy's up to his ass in fucking muck. It's not even on the ocean. I mean, come on, man. This is not a thing, but let's get it right from the horse's mouth. This is his presentation.
Climate report. This is a frightening report, and it needs to be read by all leaders and decision makers in the world. 2020 was an unprecedented year for people and the planet. It was dominated by the COVID-19 pandemic. But this report shows that 2020 was also another unprecedented year of extreme weather and climate disasters.
No, that's not true.
The cause is clear. Anthropogenic climate change, climate disruption caused by human activities, human decisions, and human folly. And the effects are disastrous. 2020 was...
All right, so pay attention to the number. They're always throwing numbers out. And by the way, he's talking about these horrible numbers and storms. And no, 2020 was not a record year for any of that kind of stuff. Come on, man. It's like weather is less severe than it used to be.
1.2 degrees Celsius hotter than pre-industrial times. We are getting dangerously close to the 1.5 degrees Celsius limit that was set by the scientific community. We are on the verge of the abyss. The 6 years since 2015 have been the hottest on record. In June, temperatures reached 38 degrees Celsius at Verkhoyansk in Russia, the highest recorded temperature anywhere north of the Arctic Circle. Concentrations of the major greenhouse gases continue to climb. Carbon dioxide concentrations rose to a new high, 410.5 parts per million. That is 148% increase above pre-industrial levels.
Yeah, well, he really sounds like he knows something when he throws numbers out there. He's like a true hypothetical pseudoscientist spouting fucking bullshit. All right, let's hear what else he has to say.
The number of tropical cyclones globally was above average in 2020. There were 98 named tropical storms. And this was mostly driven by high activity in the North Atlantic, which had more than double the long-term average and an absolute record. Widespread drought in the United States drove the largest wildfires ever recorded in California and Colorado. In Brazil...
This is nonsense. All right, listen. I'm going to just have to go through this now, because he said it. All right, so let's see. So I just pulled out the... what is this? The global oceans piece. I pulled out that chapter, because that's... Like, if I'm going to be here all friggin' night if I'm going to do the whole thing, but... So, let's see. I highlighted a couple of things here. All right, so one of these is they were saying this, what SSTs, because I have like all these abbreviations. So sea surface temperature were 2 standard deviations above normal in the second half of 2020, on par with the Blob's Peak magnitudes of 2013 to 15. So this has happened before. And then it went back down, I guess, because they would have said it would have lasted till 2016 or 2017. So, seems like there's nothing to worry about there. And, you know, honestly, a lot of this report's about, like, salinity and the differences in temperatures in different areas. I mean, there's a lot of analysis that goes on, but it's all very new. Like, we haven't really been analyzing the oceans to this degree for, you know, this has never happened before. So we have no reference. And the way things change and cycle, you know, even in their own reports, and I think it pops up here, everything equalizes. So annually average global mean sea level from satellite increased by 3.5 millimeters from 2019 to 2020, while annual global mean steric sea level observed decreased by 0.75 millimeters from 2009 to 2020. 2019 to 2020. And actually, if you go back, that's actually a great point for this. This is on the last video, episode 4, but
we're supposed to get 5 meters in 81 years, right here. How's that going to happen?
He explains
it's physically impossible,
tide gauges and satellites.
as Professor Mueller showed before. Here's how we really measure coastal sea level. You do tide gauges. They are tied to the bedrock. They have a float inside. But tide gauges, if you average them all, there's a bias to them. Why? Because people put tide gauges where they're worried about the sea level rising. So Holland has many, many tide gauges because they see sea level rising, it's really Holland is sinking. Here on the west coast, we have Alaska. It's the same situation as Norway. You had the weight of glaciers, and in Alaska, they think sea level is falling, right? It's not. The west coast of the United States, you have the subduction of the Pacific plate, and that's pulling down the west coast. So Alaska is rising, and they think sea level is falling. The west coast is falling, I think sea level is rising. Right in the middle, at the arrow, you have, again, the isotech of 0. This one happens to be in Canada.
Yeah. I had to play that video back again just to, I get agitated with these people, so sometimes I got to bring a normal person on just so I can hear something normal. There's a few more things in here. Let's see. For 2020 specifically, the reduction in global ocean mass is linked to increased water storage in Eastern Africa. Given this link, errors and/or sultry drift in Argo observations cannot be ruled out in accounting for recent discrepancies in global sea level budget. And this is what happens when bankers are running things, because look at that. They put sea level, I just caught that word, budget. Holy shit. Like, they literally are looking at this like a balance sheet. And it doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. You will never be able to quantify this. You guys are studying the ocean? No. Listen. I'll give you an example of how scientific these people are.
That we went from the possibility that we were heading to 3.5 degrees or more of warming of the planet to 1.8 degrees out of Glasgow. And if you take all the things that were promised in Sharm el-Sheikh and add them to Glasgow, you can get to 1.7 degrees. In order to get the 1.5 and keep it. And by the way, we have not yet lost. There's still a possibility of achieving 1.5.
Is this guy in Vegas or something? Like, it's just numbers. These guys are literally like accountants. And they went to a meeting and it was 1.5, and another meeting was 1.7, but it can't be more than 3.5. Come on, man. You guys these are maniacs. All right, speaking of maniacs, here, check this guy out. You've seen him before.
As the Secretary General said in his brilliant speech earlier today, we are not winning. The crisis is still getting worse faster than we are deploying these solutions, and we need to make changes quickly. Emissions are still going up. All these promises of the last few years to cut emissions are still going up.
All right, so, I got to really stop there for a second. Like, what are emissions? Right? Like, you drive in your car and something comes out of the tailpipe, that's emissions, right? So you want to eliminate emissions so we can't drive. I guess I cook. I can't burn natural gas, or maybe I can't even burn wood because that would be an emission. We can't have factories because they have emissions. Farming, you can't have that because there's emissions. Let's see how far he goes here.
And all the greenhouse gas pollution would be below you. We're still putting 162 million tons into it every single day. And the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling the oceans.
Does this guy have a boss? Like, why isn't he fired? He literally said the oceans are boiling and that there are thousands of nuclear bombs blowing off every day in respect to how the temperature's changing. I mean, is this just acting like he did before when he was pretending he was sad about the 9/11 memorial that didn't flood the way he showed it in his video? Is he acting again? I wonder. Because I guess maybe he's got a lot at stake here, right? Because, like, look at him now. He's an older guy, man. But, like, I don't know. All these people, like, look at John Kerry, this guy. They're all old guys hanging on. Gotta hang on to the shit I did in the 60s and the 70s and just lie and cheat and steal and have balance sheets and just spout out fucking bullshit so that people will believe my nonsense. And if I can be a good actor, I could, like, win people over. Like, we've seen those performances in movies, right? I don't think he's that good, honestly. He's a little wooden. Maybe he's more of an action star. Let's see.
Creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs and sucking the moisture out of the land and creating the droughts and melting the ice and raising the sea level and causing these waves of climate refugees predicted to reach 1 billion in this century. Look at the xenophobia and political authoritarian trends that have come from just a few million refugees. What about 1 billion? We would lose our capacity for self-governance.
All right, hold on a second. I have some photos here. I think he has a fucking beach house. Hold on. Photos. Oh, yes. There we go. Oh, Al Gore. There it is. Oh, you know. Yeah, that's gonna... I'm sure you sold this house already, right? Or, like, in good conscience, you couldn't sell that house. There's no way you could sell that house in good conscience because a person would live there and die because the water's going to overflood. Thank you, Al Gore. That was nice, but I actually lost my spot. Actually, it doesn't matter what else he says. He's a fucking tool. Let's see. So now we got John Kerry and his, Oh, by the way, I did want to bring up one thing about, there seems to be this like tension with China, and actually Al Gore, he's got a company called Generation Investment Management, and he invests in several CCP companies. So he's got investments and business with China that could possibly be influencing him to be disingenuous with his, acting abilities. Let's see what John Kerry has to say.
How do we change the way people are thinking about this and talking about it? And why is it that allegedly wise adult human beings, CEOs, some of them, United States senators, some of them, a whole bunch of folks, want to ignore science and want to ignore
why do you ignore
mathematics
science?
and want to ignore physics and somehow cannot bring themselves to do what we need to do. And when you stop and think about it, it's pretty extraordinary that we, a select group of human beings,
But the ego.
because of whatever touched us at some point in our lives, are able to sit in a room and come
Be
together
narcissists.
and
just
actually talk about saving the planet.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Like, you're so smart and we're so dumb. Let's continue.
I mean, it's so almost extraterrestrial.
Oh, yeah.
to
You're
think
out of this
about,
world.
Quote, saving the planet. If you said that to most people, they think you're just a crazy tree-hugging, lefty, liberal, do-gooder, whatever, and there's no relationship. But really, that's where we are. You look at what's happening with species. Half the species of the planet have been already killed.
We had an ice age.
There
Like,
is
come on, man.
For the first time in the last
You can't
years,
contract
is what
the entire
Gordon
history of the
said,
world
that
into the
we
last
were
few
somewhere
centuries.
around
Get the
3
fuck outta
degrees,
here.
3 to 4, maybe higher, when we went to Paris. And we're not now. So there's, on the one hand, on the other hand, life that we're all leading right now. On the one hand, the destruction is unfathomable. Flooding, it's just amazing, not just in California, but
I can't believe how
Uganda,
California doesn't
Mozambique,
exist
and different
anymore.
places.
Yeah.
And
horrible.
somehow we leaders, to lead, have got to be able to bring folks to the table and organize ourselves around real things that are really going to make the difference now, that tip the balance.
Dude, you haven't said anything real
this
yet.
On the one hand, on the other. We have to make it on, here's where we are. Here's where we're moving. It's all excitement. It's all a brilliant set of possibilities because of where technology and creativity and civic efforts and the marriage of young people who want a future with folks like you here who are, close to young still, but moving on.
God, what'd they flash to that person? I'm close to
The
young.
reality is, folks, that this is the time where we have to get it done and make it all meaningful.
If you guys don't do it now, you will lose control. These are the death throes of fossils that have been running this thing. And they're like, we gotta shut down the cars, the factories, the electricity, the cooking. Just shut it down to the dark ages so that we can stay in control. That's what you're doing. I'm sorry. This states it clearer.
Changing systems. It's the second dimension of leadership today. It's the soul. To have a vision, a long-term vision, as we find in this country. We need people, leaders, who have a compass which shows them the way into the future. We have to embrace this change with passion. I know change creates different feelings in different people.
No shit.
Feelings of fear.
When you're going to be annihilated?
Sometimes feelings of resistance. But change means opportunities. It's not
for you guys.
the robotization of humanity. It's to make this earth a real human place.
The fuck is he talking about, man? Listen. You know, we all know about Operation Paperclip. That guy's a fucking Nazi. I'm sorry. Like, it didn't end in World War II. We know this. So, yeah. Second generation Nazi. That's what they do. They do it within the money. They have a fifth generation war. I had a couple things I wanted to mention here. Just about the environment. Because there are things that these people aren't saying. Like, or that really seem obvious. That, you know, I'm in New York, right? When I look at New York at night, I see all the lights in the buildings. They're all night. Nobody's working in those buildings. It's office buildings, but the lights are on, right? I mean, yeah, it looks beautiful. I love it. I'm not suggesting turning it off. I think it's great. But if they were actually, you know, dotting their I's and crossing their T's, that would be on their list, right? And also, like, another thing, like, environmentally, the wind turbines, apparently, you know, I found out recently that the frequency that these turbines go at is a very low frequency that, like, goes into the ocean. And apparently, it screws up the frequency radar of dolphins and whales. So, like, they've been putting more of these up, and we've been seeing more and more of dolphins and whales getting, like, fucked up and, you know, going to places where they shouldn't wind up. So, I don't know. There's nothing about anything that any of these people ever say that ever makes it seem like they're at all environmental. So I'm going to go through some pictures here of people who say they're environmental and say the ocean's going to rise, but they have places on the ocean. So here's Biden's beach house. It's very close. It's kind of right there. If that goes up 3 feet, he'll have no basement. Let's see. I have one from Bill Gates. Somehow I didn't. I'm not able to see that, but I'm sure there's something weird about that because I can't see the Bill Gates one. Let's see John Kerry's. Oh, that's that's right there, right on. And Marty Nesbitt. Now this is one of the Obama. He's from the Obama Foundation. He's the chairman. This is the view from his place. Actually, this is Obama bought the Magnum PI house. That's right on the beach. So if he was going to get some sea level rise, that would be a bit of a problem. And apparently, he's got a place on a Martha's Vineyard vineyard also. I didn't realize that. And this is it right there, right by the ocean. I'm sure looks like, maybe this is a long shot. I'm not seeing, I see the rows. I guess maybe it's a new vineyard or something. But yeah, he's not too worried about the sea level rising there. And this is Mike Huckabee, another beach house. So all these people are crying about the ocean rising and running around like, the sky's gonna fall down and kill all the birds. But they're buying beach houses and, no banks are giving mortgages. I did that in episode 1. Come on, man. This is nonsense. It's over. It's a lie. We're gonna get past this. The truth must prevail.